Hagerty Classic Car TV.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Hagerty Classic Car TV. This week we're going to get you ready for Labor Day driving with some tips for your cooling system, and we're going to do our ride-along with the Pebble Beach Tour d'Elegance. First, let's check the news.
It's time for news.
Worldwide auctioneers will soon offer a unique barn find, a 1948 Delahaye 135M drophead coupe. The car was stored in a barn in 1971 and was untouched for 40 years. It survived with completely original panels, chassis, paint, and interior, and it still runs. It will be offered at no reserve during the fall Auburn auctions. In honor of the 50th anniversary of the Jaguar E-Type, Bonhams and Butterfields will offer an extremely rare and well-preserved 1963 semi-lightweight, ultra-high performance road car, one of only two such E-Types ever built. This semi-lightweight is a derivative of competition lightweights built for international GT competition. It has its original gray paintwork and has never been offered at auction. The pre-sale estimate is more than $3 million. The final numbers are in from Monterey, and it's no surprise that all the record-setting individual sales led to an overall record for the week. Official dollar amounts for cars sold at all auctions totaled $197.5 million, making 2011 the biggest Monterey auction year ever.
So it's the holiday weekend. Chances are good you're going to be out in your classic car. Old cars do overheat. You want to make sure you treat your cooling system right. For a few tips on how to do that, we're going to check in with Randy, our lead mechanic at the Hagerty Garage.
Still a lot of driving left in the season, and I'd like to share with you some of our cooling system tips. One would be to always park a car on a hard surface or a painted floor and look for leaks after you drive it. You know, like overnight, you may drive it yesterday and today you come in and take a flashlight, look underneath there, and you see some drips. Well, if you see drips, then you got to go find where they're coming from. Number two would be to squeeze the hoses. We want to make sure that we don't have any soft or hard spots in them. Preferably do it when they're cold. You get a much better feel and you don't burn your fingers. What we're looking for is anything really soft. We're looking for bulges. And in this particular case, these hoses, there's a very soft spot right here. So I've cut this hose open, and we've actually see that there's some cracking going on in the inside of the hoses. That's very common on a lot of cars that run high temperatures because the coolant coming out of the thermostat or out of the upper radiator hose, that's the hottest coolant. We see the problem here and in heater hoses. Number three would be to check the belt tension, just to verify that we don't have any loose belts. We want to keep the belts fairly snug. We don't want to make them too tight, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually grab a rag, and if I can rotate the pulleys within the belts, then I need to tighten the belts. Number four would be to test the coolant with a tester, make sure we're good for hot and cold weather. So we want to make sure two things. The coolant is used to keep the car from boiling over in the summer, and it's also used to keep the car from freezing in the winter. A good mixture of coolant is usually 10 to 25 below. That'll give us a great boiling over protection. It'll give us a great winter protection. We can see this antifreeze. We've got the 10 below is actually floating, and then the 25 below is almost there. So we're real close to 25 below, which is perfect protection for this car. We're also going to look for the color and condition of the antifreeze. If it's really dark or muddy looking, then we want to change the coolant out. And it's also a good idea. I try to change the coolant in any of our cars once every 3 years just to keep it fresh. And number five would be inspect the radiator. The radiator, I like to take a flashlight. I like to look down through all the coils, down through the bottom. What I'm looking for are antifreeze leaks, any white growths. Also what I'm looking for is in the tubes themselves and in the fins. They actually will start rotting out and falling apart. So just making sure our radiator is good and solid so it can transfer the heat out.
For this week's ride-along, we're trying something a little bit different. Basically, I didn't have to do anything.
You're standing here with some of these great cars knowing that, you know, they're capable, they're ready to drive a 60-mile tour, and people are out there ready to have fun.
fun opportunity to get out these old cars and to take them out and show other people what they look like, to have an opportunity to drive them, which is always a lot of fun. Sometimes a little anxious.
It's a rugged deal, and a lot of cars don't make it. So if you do make it, you get an extra point for the show.
Just to see the lines, like something like new cars don't have, and everything, how they're built, their sound, how they drive.
Have such great cars in motion. That's the key. So watching them go down the road is so much fun.
So that's it for this week's episode of Hagerty Classic Car TV. Remember, you can sign up for email alerts and we'll let you know every time there's a new episode available. Just go on to Hagerty.com, find our page, and click the button. See you next week.